Okay, Judy, we are live over channel 18. You'll have to unmute.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Judy.
I don't know what happened. My computer just went berserk like 10 minutes before the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
Judy, you're unmuted, so you can start.
Okay, I thank you very much and welcome everybody. This is August 17th and the meeting of the Town of Orleans Marine and Freshwater Quality Committee. And I call the meeting to order at 10:07. The first item on the agenda, I want to say a brief and I'm sure inadequate thank you to Carolyn Kennedy for her many years of volunteer service to the town. I believe Carolyn has been involved with the town's efforts to protect our natural aquatic resources with a focus on the town's efforts to improve the overall water quality in our estuaries and freshwater lakes and ponds for at least 15 years. You can correct me, Carolyn, but I know it's at least 15 years. Carolyn has also led the Marine and Freshwater Quality Committee for many years and has provided excellent leadership with determination and professionalism. Her contributions to the town's wastewater planning and resource protection efforts have been significant. She has never wavered in her dedication to improving the ecological health of our waters. She may walk softly, but when needed, carried a big stick. It has been an honor for me personally to have worked with Carolyn all these years. Her leadership of this committee will be missed. However, we hope she won't go very far away. When the COVID situation changes, I hope we can get together in a more social setting and properly celebrate Carolyn's service on this committee and contributions to the town. And I thank you for that. And thank you, Carolyn, very much.
Hear, hear.
Does anyone else have any comments they want to make at this time regarding this?
I know she won't be too far away. I know we'll always have her by our side.
Yes. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our newly appointed member, Dr. Richard Levy. Dr. Levy has an interesting and varied technical background, and I'm going to ask him to tell us just a little bit about himself. Not everybody probably watched the interview, his interview with the select board. So if you would indulge us, Dr. Levy, I would love to hear tell the committee about
quickly. Can you guys hear me okay? I think
Yes.
we kind of tested that ahead of time, so that was good. Yeah, so my name is, I go by Rich, and I live here in Orleans. Well, we bought a home in 2013 and we moved here permanently full-time, and I think it was end of 2015. So most recently I'm still working as an editor for a biotech and pharmaceutical journal. So I'm doing that part-time. And so that one of the reasons I wanted to get involved, which I'll talk about in a minute, is I have a little bit of a background in the areas that you guys are working on. So I have interest in trying to help out. And so I'm still doing the journal, but I retired from full-time down in Bethesda, Maryland. So I was commuting back and forth. I had an apartment in Maryland for an association that's pharmaceutical and biotech manufacturing, fairly large, about a 10,000 member association. So I was responsible for scientific and regulatory affairs there. Prior to that, I worked for a company called Parexel International that does clinical trials and things of that nature. And I was involved in a small consulting firm, a lot of former FDA and other technical people related to pharmaceutical manufacturing. So I just spent a lot of time in the Bethesda area, which is right near FDA. And we did global, we have an office in Berlin also. So then the reason I'm here is a long time ago, in another lifetime, I did my PhD fairly close by at Worcester Polytech, and I focused on really drinking water distribution systems and water quality and reservoirs and things of that nature. but the public health aspects of it. And I did some of my studies at UMass Medical School too, as part of my doctorate. So that's part of the water quality background I have, interest in disease transmission through water systems. And then my master's degree was from Clark University in Worcester, but I did my work remotely sometime, but a lot of time actually in Worcester on a estuary in South Carolina near Georgetown and through the Bell Baruch Marine Labs there. And so I studied what's called marine myofauna in estuaries, mudflats, and things of that nature. So I've spent some time in estuaries doing sampling, and same thing in reservoir systems and drinking water systems. I worked prior to Excel, I worked with Millipore Corporation. So I was responsible at one point for the analytical division and part of the analytical division and bioprocess division, but the part that deals with rapid detection and things of that nature, which includes coliform testing and things like that. So, so I have a lot of interest in sampling water and hopefully doing it the best you can. And basically, so my master's thesis was on estuarine ecology. And prior to that, I worked for a small company when I was pretty young called New England Research in Worcester. And they did a lot of work on nuclear plants and also dredging studies. So I actually do have some experience with marine dredging, but looking at the ecosystems and the impact on ecosystems of dredging and also of nuclear plants and intake and outflow of heating and cooling systems. That's a long time ago, but I did a lot of work for them for a while when I was doing my master's degree. So I was hoping to give back in a little bit here. So this seemed like a good opportunity, and I read through a lot of the work that you guys have been doing, and I thought that I could be of help. So that's why I'm here. So I'm looking forward to, and you guys operate at a pretty sophisticated level, so that's great. And I've seen the work that Scott and his team and some of the others have done here. So it's great that you're at that, level. So hopefully I can maintain the level of the group. And that's it.
Oh, well,
Welcome.
thank you very much, Rich.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, I think you'll have a lot to contribute to the committee as
I
we
hope so.
move forward. Thank you. And in all fairness, now I think we should just go around and introduce
Yeah, that'd be
ourselves
helpful.
to you and just a few words about our backgrounds. I start with me, I guess. Judy Scanlon, and I'm a marine biologist. It's an undergraduate. I'm not a PhD scientist, but I have worked professionally for Battelle Ocean Sciences. I've worked at Woods Hole Oceanographic and also the National Marine Fisheries Service. And I've been involved with the town's water quality monitoring efforts since 2000. So now next I see is Ed, at least on my screen, but
Mhm.
Ed Hafner.
Okay, I have a biochemistry background. I worked at Pfizer for much of my career. And I've been on the committee here for maybe, 3 years or so. We moved down here in about 4 years ago. And I've been coming to the Cape pretty much all our married lives, the last 50 years. So we have a connection to the
You're in
Cape.
Groton, Connecticut?
What?
Were you in
Excuse
Groton,
me?
Connecticut? Were you in
Yes.
Groton, Connecticut?
Yes, I was in Groton. I worked in antibiotics, fermentation, microbiology, sort of thing.
We probably know people, so
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we'll have to have a coffee and chat.
we
and
will,
see.
definitely.
Yeah. That's about it.
Anyone want to chime in? Because I can't. The next person I see on mine on the committee is Betsy.
Greetings, Betsy Fertney. Originally started working at Aetna in Hartford, Connecticut, even though I'm a native Cape Codder. And then I switched into landscape design and project construction, and still dabble in that today.
Nice.
All set.
Thank you very much, Betsy. Carol?
Hi there, I'm Carol Etzold, and I actually have a master's in forestry and wildlife, but I have also been a classroom teacher of science for younger grades, anywhere from 1st grade through 7th grade, primarily 5th and 6th, for over 30 years. And I've also worked for National Audubon Society and other nature centers before that. My interest here is obviously water quality, and I've been trying to bring my skills in interpreting scientific results to keep them in the big picture for the public.
Thank you very much. Judith?
Good morning. So, Judy made me Orleans Pond Princess some time ago. She was the one who trained me. I think she did a pretty damn fine job of it. I've been sampling estuaries and freshwater ponds in Orleans for 20 years now. I've been living here full time for 22, though I bought my house 27 years ago. I have no science background. I'm a hospital administrator. My master's is in hospital administration. My career was spent in New York City. I'm on the Conservation Commission. I'm right now president, and I was one of the founders of the Orleans Pond Coalition. I was on the committee that helped write the original comprehensive wastewater plan for Orleans, and again on the committee that did the revised plan. I've been on the Water and Sewer Commission. I've been on most of the committees in Orleans. It's a good town. Love being on the water.
Thank you very much, Judith. Lara Slifka?
Yeah, hi, Lara Slifka. Sorry, I have a mask on right now while I'm talking to you. I'm a full-time mom, and I have a biology background. And prior to being a full-time mom of 7 years, I used to work for the town of Chatham as their assistant conservation agent and their environmental technician.
Thank you.
She's
Okay.
leaving
so-
off all of her work with fisheries. Come on, Laura, that's the fun part.
Is
Oh,
she
yeah,
being
I used to
too
be a
modest?
Fisheries observer, and I worked in fisheries policy as well. And my brain is off.
It's
Yeah, she's
okay.
about 90 pounds soaking wet, and she's the one that used to stand on the Chatham Fish Pier, meeting the commercial fisher boats coming in and making sure that they had no illegal bycatch.
Well, thank you very much. So hopefully that will help you get to know committee members until we can convene in person, hopefully sometime soon. I'd like to move on to the approval of the minutes. We have two different dates to approve. We have the February 10th, 2020, and we have the July 27th, 2020 minutes. Does anybody have comments, corrections for the February 10th minutes?
One of the two has a date wrong. But now that I don't have it on the screen, I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember which one. Like a month off on one of the things it's referring to.
The approval of the minutes for January 27th on the February 10th meeting.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
One.
but you don't remember which minutes.
Oh, shoot. Of course, I thought I would, and I thought I would actually have them on the screen, but of course I don't. Maybe we'll pick it up as we go along. If somebody else has it on the screen, we'll find it.
Okay,
Well, if it's just a date that's wrong, maybe you could later on send it on to me and I'll put it in the minutes then.
Okay.
are there any other corrections, then I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of February 10th, 2020.
So moved.
Thank you. Second,
Second,
seconded by
Betsy.
Betsy. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed or abstain?
Abstain, Rich, since I wasn't here.
Rich, right. Thank you very much. The minutes for July 27th, 2020. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of July 27th, 2020 as submitted?
So moved.
Motion to approve?
Second,
Second.
Wait, so can I just say that I wasn't on the roll call for the minutes for the approval? For the minute approval, I wasn't on that roll call.
oh,
So
that's
just say-
right. We need to do this. I forgot the procedure when it's virtual. We all have to vote individually.
Okay, but
So-
I still need to change the minutes for July 20th, that I wasn't on the roll call for that too. For either of the 2 minutes that were approved.
Oh, for the March 16th and the June 15th, you were not
Yes,
part of that, so it should, okay.
Can you again send me that by email, so I'll have it?
yes.
Okay, so going back to the minutes for February 10th, can we do this by roll call? Judy Scanlon, aye.
Judith Bruce abstain, wasn't there.
Rich Levy,
Betsy.
abstain.
Carol,
Betsy Courtney, aye.
Carol Etzold, I.
Ed, aye.
Lifka, aye. Oops.
Oh.
Laura, aye.
Okay, so 502, if I have that correctly.
Thank
Math is not my strong suit. All right,
Close enough.
thank you very much. And now moving on to the July 27th, 2020 minutes. Judy Scanlon, aye.
Judith Bruce, aye.
Carol Etzold, I.
Ed, aye.
Betsy, aye.
Rich, abstain.
Laura Slivka, aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, and we'll get those minutes posted right away as soon as that small correction is noted. I thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the status update on Uncle Harvey's Pond, the management plan implementation.
And I will recuse myself unless you direct a specific question to me.
Okay, and Rich, Betsy is recusing herself because she's also a pond abutter on the pond that we're talking about.
Okay,
Okay. Just so you know why.
gonna ask.
Yeah,
Actually, technically a pond owner.
Okay.
true. A parcel owner, that's correct. I did talk with George Meservey briefly just to get an update on the letters, the approval letters or affidavits that went out to the property owners around the pond and pond owners, as Judith pointed out. As of last week, I believe there were 9 signed. 9 letters have been returned and signed with approval. I understand there may be 2 more coming and there's 3 outstanding. I did ask George about the town of Orleans, who is also a property owner there because of the town landing. And he said that essentially, as this goes through the process, if it goes through the approval process, gets approved by the selectmen and Conscom and everything, that John Kelly, our town administrator, will sign the NOI. And that basically implies that the town also approves and gives permission. So I think the next step, if I recall, is that this needs to get in front of the select board for their review and approval and filing approval to file the NOI to get the process moving. And so I'd like the committee's opinion or recommendation to take this to the next step and request that the select board approve the NOI so that the process can start moving. Any discussions? And
I move that we go ahead and send to the select board our approval of the NOI.
and request that they,
Request they move ahead.
okay. Do
So
hear
I continue to think that we need to have all of the owners on board and signed off.
I think we
I
need
mean,
a
you can
second
take
on
it to
that.
the select board, but I
motion.
think it's pretty unfair to the select board to ask them to move forward on this until you've got a clear indication from all of the owners that this is what they want and that they will go forward with it.
The second part of this is I was going to ask the committee, because I know this has come up before, the issue of giving property owners an additional opportunity to comment, ask questions of the scientists, our consultants. And I did talk with George about this and wanted to ask the committee if they thought it'd be beneficial. Now, with the age of COVID, we have this ability to do the Zoom meetings, virtual meetings, where regardless of where a property owner lives, whether their property is just a rental or they actually reside there, they would be able to participate. If we held a virtual public workshop where more information can be made available and they can have the opportunity to talk to the consultants and scientists in our committee. So I would appreciate your thoughts on that.
So we never had a second to Ed's motion to begin discussion of this
True.
Well,
motion.
anyone can jump in and do that.
Again, Rich.
Seconded by Rich Levy.
All right, so I don't, I think we're moving ahead way too fast to request that the selectmen hear this, considering that we still haven't gotten all of the abutters signatures in. We, as a committee, had discussed in the beginning having an educational session, and for whatever reason that was turned down, and the notice of intent was proceeded with before the educational session for abutters. I can understand here now this is operating as a forum at a selectmen's meeting for this, but I have some changes. I know that Mr. Morangel will not sign this, and he's pretty much basically he's completely said no, I'm not going to sign it. And I've asked him if he would like further information, and I've sent him some documents regarding lake and pond management for a resource. But my feeling is that since this is a privately owned pond, I feel that it should be the owners who agree for the chosen method of pond management. And applying alum to a portion of the pond isn't something that this committee should discuss, because that's basically a property rights issue. And then, since the selectmen haven't heard this, I think it would really basically put them in a difficult position. And they would probably come back and say, hey, no, let's wait for all the abutters to say that, yes, we're in favor of this prior to making an approval. And I could be wrong in that, but And I personally don't have any issues with using alum in ponds, but I just recently read an article from June of 2016 in Water Research, and it's entitled Longevity and Effectiveness of Alum Addition to Reduce Sediment, Phosphorus Release, and Restore Lake Water Quality. And it's by Husser et al. And basically what it talked about is that shallow ponds have an average of a 5 to 10 year lifespan of alum. And if the committee decides to move ahead, as we had discussed with some expensive screens in the pond, I don't feel that it's fiscally responsible for us to ask the taxpayers to install these barriers so that the alum doesn't reach other sides of the pond. And I also feel that it shouldn't be our decision when there's so many other, when there's, well, at least 3 abutters so far that haven't turned in their agreement to say yes on this. I think that we've given all the abutters the tools to basically make a decision to what they feel is the best job and how they should do it. This is, you know, majority of this is a privately owned pond. And so they should really be the ones who are making this decision and approving it. And if there's one person who sees, or 2 people who see that this shouldn't occur, we shouldn't be going forward and saying, okay, yes, we're applying alum to the pond. And as well, I believe there are still some questions whether or not alum would actually work if only treated a portion of the pond. So I feel like if the abutters can't agree, then unfortunately this is going to be like the Democrats and Republicans where nothing happens.
Mhm.
But it's not our duty to force them into something. They all have to be on board for this. And if there's one abutter who says, okay, let's put an aerator, let that one abutter apply for a conservation commission to put an aeration system on his portion of the pond because it is an owner. This really is a property rights issue.
So I'd like to defend my motion a little bit. I think that what we're trying to do here is simply tell the select board that we're in agreement with the plan, the NOI. And with regard to the abutters, certainly I don't believe they will move until they've heard from all of the abutters. So that's sort of baked in, but I could agree to an amendment saying that we recommend also that the select board not do anything until all the abutters have been heard from.
Mhm.
Right, and we've received 9 letters of approval so far. I do think it might be beneficial to hold that public workshop prior to going to the selectmen in that order.
Well,
It may
haven't
be,
the abutters been told that they can certainly call and find all the information they need?
yes. And the selectmen have also been given the management plan, I believe, 3 years ago. Carolyn was more active in leading the committee on this in the past. So if she has any comments regarding this, I certainly, as long as the committee agrees, I would let her chime in if she has anything she wants to add to this because of her involvement for so many years on this. And also, go ahead. And I was going to say, we also have our consultant that's been working on this with us, Scott Fisher. So if he has anything to say, he's welcome to also contribute.
I know we've had a legal opinion on this, but, and probably more than one, but I've lost track of where we are legally on requiring unanimous consent, because understanding that this is a privately owned pond in this case, how does anybody ever on any group jointly owned property ever get anything done? The opinion has to be unanimous, because when are you going to get a dozen and more people to agree on anything.
Well,
So.
if they
it
don't, if they
seems
don't
like we're
agree,
why do we bother? I'm,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm kind of annoyed because that means that we can't improve the water quality of a significantly used and reasonably good-sized pond in town because of one or two people.
Mhm.
And there, it just seems there has to be a way to accept the majority wishes on something like this. But if legally we can't, then we need to go home.
Is there a reason that you, so you said there's a town landing there? Can they actually put boats in this pond?
Yes.
You can, okay.
Little ones,
Oh, I was gonna say, because it looks like a
Canoes,
small,
rowboats, kayaks.
okay,
non-motorized, I assume.
okay,
Well,
Elec-
all
electric-
motorized boats are outlawed on all ponds.
Okay.
right, right.
Even those
But they
with
can still put
landings,
boats in
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Freshwater
So,
ponds.
Can I ask you a question? So legally, could the residents of the pond get together and fill the pond in? Do they have that kind of control over
They
That
would,
would be a violation.
they would
of the
have to
wet-
get permission from the
from the
Conservation
state?
and
Commission.
then
Yeah.
never get
From
it.
the
No,
Conservation
From the
Commission, right?
Conservation Commission. the-
Right, but that's all they would need, right? So they have the right to do that. And could the town override them?
They'll
for some
never get
reason?
that
'Cause it looks like they
permission.
have access that was built in through the town landing.
So any alteration or work in a wetland must be
Mhm.
approved by the local Conservation Commission, which is the agent for the Department of Environmental Protection for the state.
Right.
So I can tell you, I served on that commission for 18 years. There's no way in hell that any conservation commission in Massachusetts would ever allow any applicant, even if it were 100%
Mhm.
of the people living on the pond and owning the pond, even if they wanted it, they would never have permission to fill it in.
But they could go to court. In theory, I'm just wondering
They
if they
could
could
go to
actually,
court, but
Yeah,
there's
but-
no way that DEP would ever override the local conservation commission on that to grant them the relief to
Yeah.
fill the pond.
I guess I say never until you see it happen. But again, I was just using that as an example of what people can do if they get together and decide on something. It's amazing what actually can happen. I just wanted to kind of understand the legal, the town of Orleans, whether they have their rights are actually part of almost like deeded rights to the town landing and access.
So Mike Ford, who is the town's council, has opined that it is legal for the town to accept an application for this project, even if all of the property owners have not signed off. The Conservation Commission has never accepted an application for any work on private property unless every person has signed off on it. And I don't know that we've had a dozen, Carol, but we get many group applications
Yeah,
from
okay.
property owners for work on the Conservation Commission, and all of the owners sign off on it and agree to it. I'm sure it takes a significant amount of discussion and wrangling prior to coming up with a plan that everybody agrees to, but there are many applications that come before the Conservation Commission with multiple owners and get reviewed and sometimes approved and sometimes denied, and very often approved with modifications to what was originally requested. So it's doable. I mean, it's not easy. It's never easy to get people to agree to something, but it is doable.
Yeah.
I don't believe,
Yeah.
and that would be my issue with this. There's been such a long-standing policy on the Conservation Commission that we do not act on property owners' property without their permission, that I would have a great deal of difficulty accepting this unless everyone signs off. It's no secret that I'm not a fan of alum, but I do think that it is an approved way. I believe that there is no scientific evidence that has shown that there is a danger or a hazard to people's health using alum. So if everyone agreed to that application, I won't say in advance of a hearing how I would vote, but I think there is every probability that I would vote in favor of it. But I would have a great deal of difficulty agreeing to accept the application in the first place. And I think there are other commissioners who would also have have difficulty with this. It's a tough piece.
Right, but the problem is if it never gets to the conscom, then that discussion can't happen. So I'm merely trying to help get this process moving in whatever way is conducive
But
to.
Judy, a conscom hearing isn't the place to get owners to agree on how to go forward.
No, I understand that, but that's why I think that
Well-
the public workshop would be helpful. And then, it can go to the selectmen, and hopefully there'll be some additional outreach and additional letters to come in, but we may never have all the abutters approve it. And it is the opinion of legal counsel, town's legal counsel, that the fact that not everybody signed the affidavit, it would not prevent, I'm quoting Michael Ford, it would not prevent the Conservation Commission from hearing and issuing a decision on the notice of intent filed by the other landowners. So, this has been circling back and forth. And I just think that, it needs to get to the selectmen. It needs to be resolved. And maybe, I don't know if Scott Fisher knows of instances in other ponds that they've worked where there is an abutter that doesn't support a management decision for a pond and what happened. I don't know, Scott, if you have any.
We have a couple of cases, Judy, where that is ongoing, right? They're sort of current. So I don't have any experience with resolved situations involving contention over an application process. But, I think the comments that the committee members so far have shared are very fair and appropriate with what could possibly happen here. And if my math is correct, if the two additional people that George mentioned were probably going to sign, and then the town is also a signatory agent, that would mean that 12 out of 14 of the affidavits would be signed at that point. And Laura already mentioned that one of the owners would not be signing it. So I think what you're presenting here, Judy, is really what the committee needs to decide is, there's going to be, even if that other person who is missing the signatory right now does sign, there still is going to be one holdout here that, as Laura has presented. So I think the committee needs to decide how to move forward based on what you've just laid out there, Judy, with a possibility of how to move forward.
Just a quick question. I know someone else wanted to ask a question, but do we know why these people, or the two that we think might not vote yes, particularly the one that Laura mentioned? Do we know what their objection is? Is it just the alum, or is it other steps like their septic system and things of that nature?
It's the alum.
Okay.
So, and I mean, for myself, I don't always buy organic meat, but I have friends who are adamant that they will not eat meat that has either antibiotics or growth hormones in it. Now, USDA says that meat is perfectly safe. And so, you can argue with them until you're blue in the face that this is safe and there's no problem with it. But if someone isn't going to eat meat, I mean, if they're only going to buy organic grass-fed meat because they will not eat antibiotics, and then that's going to be their position and they're not going to change their mind. And I think that that's very much the way this individual who lives on Uncle Harvey's is feeling. And I agree with Laura. I think that the abutters, painful though it may be, the abutters and owners, maybe not the abutters, the owners to Uncle Harvey's, have to sit down and hash it out and come up with a plan that they will all buy into and agree to. Just because we happen to think that this is the way to go, I don't think that we're going to get them to agree that this is the way to go. That's that. I'm not opposed to another forum, Judy, to let them have questions answered, but I think at this point, they're pretty dug in on how they.
I think we're reaching too far. Our committee is supposed to make a scientific evaluation And our job is to say whether or not we think it's a good plan. The committee has done this work. We're just rehashing everything that we've done already. We've already come to the conclusion that it's the proper way to go forward in treating the pond. All these other issues are not for us to totally resolve. If the abutters and whatever don't want to vote for it or not in favor of it, that's their decision to make. We don't just stand here, do nothing until they make their decision. We go ahead and provide to the select board what our scientific opinion has been. And we've done this now for I don't know how many years. And I think, like Judy says, it's time to move forward. Now, the select board, they'll have to make their decisions. We don't have to do their work for them. And yes, we should be available to the abutters if they want to ask questions and get more information. Certainly, we should let them know we're here for that. But we're not going to go to their house with coffee and, you know, try to pat them on the back and get them to agree. I mean, there's a point where we've done our work, we'll pass it on, and what happens, happens.
Yes, thank you, Ed, for those comments. I know Carolyn was involved with this for a long time, and Carolyn, if you have anything to add, unless the committee objects, I'd like to hear from you what your opinion is.
I don't see her on the.
Someone was raising their
I
hand or
see
not.
Carolyn, and I'm always in favor of hearing from Carolyn, so
Yeah,
no objection at all.
all right. Thank you.
I think she's muted.
Yeah,
Carolyn, you're
I-
muted. You need to unmute. There
I
you
don't
are.
see-
Okay, there I am.
Oh.
Good morning to all. I think what we have to keep in mind is that, and probably this goes to what Judith just said about toxic substances, that pond is toxic
Mhm.
because of the cyanobacteria in it. It is toxic to animals, it is toxic to humans. And with the research that's now gone on, when it becomes airborne, it is toxic to the entire neighborhood. So it is a health issue. It is not just a matter of, I'd like the pond the way it is or whatever. This is a toxic stew.
Well, you can't
And-
say that. I mean, again, the only.
Yes, I can say that.
Well, we know that there were a certain level of cyanobacteria. We don't know that it's a toxic strain. We don't know the toxins were released. We don't know any of that. Now, I would agree that if it is not already, it probably will be. But as a scientific group, we cannot be out there saying this pond is toxic when we don't have that information.
Well, the state has tested it to the level that they say is toxic, and times we've had blooms, and they have said that we must clean it up.
And the
So
state has treated.
we do have
other
a state
ponds.
mandate.
The state has treated,
I don't agree with
is
that.
treating other ponds.
They are, but I
Because
don't
they are
agree that
toxic.
Uncle Harvey's is one that has been tested and shown to be toxic. I mean, the only report that I have seen on the strain of cyanobacteria for Uncle Harvey's said that it was a strain not known to be toxic in the Northeast. Now, there may be other strains in there, and these blooms come and go in a week's time. So, I can't say that there is not another strain that has bloomed in that pond. And I certainly wouldn't say that given the climate change and warming, that there won't be multiple strains of toxic cyanobacteria. But at this point in time, we can't say that, and we shouldn't be saying it.
Well, that may be the next thing they need to do.
Possibly. But we have to stick with the science on this stuff. If we're going to be a science-based committee, we need to be a science-based committee.
Thank you, Carolyn. Betsy?
I'm just wondering if everyone has concluded their comments so that I may participate as a private abutter in public speak.
I don't think we're done.
Okay,
We do have a motion still floating out there also, but yes, Betsy, as soon as we're done discussing. Ed, you made the motion. Do you want
Yeah,
to revise it or
the
including
only
the,
revision would be to
To hold a workshop? Do you want to
Recommend
work
that
that?
they recommend that the board not pursue it until we've heard from all the abutters. That it's our opinion that it's scientifically valid to move ahead with the NOI, but it's almost redundant. They're not going to move on it unless they've heard from the abutters, but we could put it in there that we recommend that all the abutters be heard from.
And that we hold the informational workshop, virtual workshop, so make sure that everybody can participate.
I think that's a separate motion.
But that should probably happen before it goes to the select board.
Well, you've
My
mentioned that the abutters have all been informed that we're
Yes, they have.
available and going to give them all the information we have. I assume they've probably looked at it. I don't hear them asking for stuff. If they were asking specifically for a meeting, we would certainly give it.
Carol?
And along those lines, what other new, different options do we have at this point other than just saying we're going to do what other things we've already done? Other than
There is
sending this
one
to the selectmen.
There is one option that hasn't been mentioned. And it's not that I'm recommending it, I'm not at this point. But I do believe a Conservation Commission can ask for corrections when there's public health hazards. They can order property owners to fix up a problem. And I believe that that could be done with the Uncle Harvey's Pond abutters, that they have to fix a problem if it is established without question, and I realize there are questions, that there is a toxic public health problem with it. The Conservation Commission does have that power.
So then maybe we can make a request. That's the selectmen.
Oops.
Laura?
Laura.
Harvey's land management plan. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, so that they come up with a solution using the various methods in the Uncle Harvey's land management plan that they can agree on to solve the eutrophic status of the pond. Something to that sort, to make, basically have the selectmen state that, hey, you guys need to figure out a way to do this, and then you can come and bring it back to us. We've already have, I feel like we're just going to continue, this is going to continue and continue without any resolution, because it's going to go on, and then people are just going to end up in court saying, no, you can't do this. And then it's just going to continue to go back and forth between the abutters and the town as to what happens. And we're just going to continue to spend money on this, when in reality, although it's a great pond and people can go fishing on it, if they can't agree, it's not our job. It's not our job to do that. We have given them the tools to make a decision. And I feel that they need to come up with what they want to do.
The selectmen.
No,
Select board,
the
the select
abutters.
board, the
The
abutters.
abutters. The abutters should come up with what they want to do.
And essentially 9 of them so far have.
Yeah, and so have those 9 get together with the other 3, I believe it is, and figure out a way that they can all agree on.
I
If
think
they
our
all really
select
want
board
this,
wishes to
then
speak.
do it.
Pardon
What
me?
do you say?
Our select board rep wishes to speak.
Oh.
Yeah, all I want to say is, please don't bring it in front of the board until you have a consensus. We have enough on our plates, and we don't need to get mired down into this like you guys are. This is the very first criteria the consultants cited for choosing a plan was, what do the abutters want? And until you have that, please don't come to us. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Do you mean that you need unanimous approval by the abutters, or do you need to hear from all the abutters?
I don't want to hear from anybody until you have a consensus. That,
Consensus from the abutter,
Well,
not the committee.
not the committee, the
Right.
abutters.
I just wanted to make sure I understood.
So not everyone has to agree according, I think, I don't know if it's Robert's rules or whatever. If you have a consensus, you just report those numbers back, and it almost sounds like you already almost have that already.
Yep.
But this is not a great pond, so it's really out of our jurisdiction. There's nobody on our board that has the expertise to make these decisions.
So I don't think that anyone ever agreed to the same rules moving forward on this as was the estuaries wastewater plan, but that consensus was all stakeholders had to either agree to stand aside or vote yes. There could not be a nay vote. And it was a long process, but it got there eventually. It's the nature of democracy. What do they say? Difficult and messy, but that's the way it is.
Right, but how long do you wait to try to reach consensus when, if in the end, there is still somebody that would never agree? I mean, at some point, you have to move it through the process and see if it's either going to get approved or not.
In my
But-
opinion, sorry, go ahead, Judy.
No,
finish.
go ahead. It's okay,
Let-
Laura.
Let the abutters do the process then. Let them move it forward. Don't take it from the town. If they
Right.
can't all agree, let the abutters move it forward. Stop wasting town tax dollars on this and let them move ahead.
The town is also in a butter, so.
Yeah, so we can decide to do whatever the majority wants to do. That would be fine, right? Move on with whatever the majority wants to do, but let the abutters move ahead and take this forward.
How long do
Gotta
you wait?
remember, I'm the one who stood up at town meeting and said, I think that our budget is way too big for what we're doing. So I'm the one who's always thinking fiscally.
Right, but the money for the alum treatment has already been put aside for that purpose. It's not, it's already been in the town budget for quite a while.
Well, the final report that you're using, I'm assuming that once you get to exhibit 4 or page 4 of the recommendations, that's what's going in this NOI, I assume.
Correct.
The abutters have had the opportunity since March of 2018 to read through this and evaluate it themselves. Is that correct? This document was, I was just
Correct.
reading the executive summary since I didn't have
Right.
time to read the whole thing. So this has been out there for a long time, which it sounds like some of you are expressing, and people have had a long time to think about, all these different options here. So I'm kind of thinking that these people aren't going to change their mind. Go ahead.
Karen,
But there is one new piece that I don't believe is in the report, but correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, is the piece about the curtains have the abutters gotten the information to enable them to understand the option of not having their segment of the pond treated? Because we understand that if, and I'm making this figure up, but 2 or more abutters choose not to have their wedge of the pond treated, that it may not meet our water quality standards. On the other hand, it's a heck of a lot closer to standards than if we don't do it. And I believe, I could be wrong, that it's still coming closer than aeration or any of the other options short of possibly dredging, which is a non-starter. So I'm wondering how can, if that is the option, is there a way that legally, if people don't sign on to treating the entire pond, that we can just curtain off their wedges and carry on.
I can respond to that if you'd like, Judy.
Yes, I would like you to respond to that. Thank you,
Sure.
Scott.
And Carol, you're right. So we've discussed this within the committee in previous meetings, but we have not presented it that way to the owners of their parcels, that is an option. The direction we were given was to move forward with seeking approval to treat the entire water body and then hear back from residents and owners to hear if they are unanimous with that action being sort of a best case scenario direction to move forward. And if they were not, then it is still an option, Carol, you're correct. It is still an option to curtain off parcels. We don't know, we know one of the owners, as Laura's mentioned it, but I don't know offhand who the other owner is. There's, you can certainly do that. As Laura would pointed out earlier, there would be an additional cost. But that is certainly a possibility with how you or the town or the owners could move forward with this permit application would be to section off the people who are opposed to this work from their parcel. So it is possible to move forward in that direction if you all wanted to, if the town wants to.
Thank you, Scott. Cecil?
Yep. If you do this curtaining aspect, who do you expect to pay for that? The town?
Yep, yeah, the town would be paying for it as part of the alum application.
I don't know what the
Wasn't the cost for that, I'm sorry, wasn't the cost for that relatively low? Like the number that stuck in my head was $12,000-ish. Am I right, Scott?
I think that's probably on the higher side, Carol, actually, but it depends if it's two parcels and, if it extends, curtain is plastic, obviously, so it's about the supply of that type of material, and then you have to install it, and then you have to maintain it. So we'd have to check on it to make sure it didn't move or shift during the week or so after the application. So there would be a cost incurred with the labor of checking it. I would say that's on the high end, the number that you just mentioned there.
And this is a top to bottom curtain?
Correct, Cecil. Yes, it's top to bottom. What makes it pretty tricky is that I think Laura referenced earlier shallow ponds. Uncle Harvey's is actually a pretty deep kettle hole, so it gets fairly deep out in the center of that pond. So unfortunately, the parcels are all pizza slice positioned. So they all go towards the center. So the curtain will need to be long enough in order to reach the depth that's necessary there. So that length and amount of plastic associated with the curtain really does extend the cost beyond what you would anticipate.
Plus divers to set it and so on, or do you just drop it down and hope you hit the bottom?
It's weighted and they would be anchored in place. So you would hope that would be fine, but the deeper water areas could be challenging, Cecil.
Carol?
Just one general comment about cost is the old joke, I think, applies about if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. It seems, excuse me, it seems to me that it would be money well spent proactively as opposed to doing nothing and letting the pond degrade significantly further, because then by the time got to the point where everyone thought it needed treatment, it's going to most likely cost a whole lot more to clean it up.
Ed?
I'm thinking I would like to withdraw my motion. The discussion has made me think that it's best that we wait until we've heard from all the abutters, one way or the other, what they're thinking. And then I could remake the motion at that time once we've heard from everybody. It may be I know it's been a long time and I'm impatient as well as some other of you, with how long this has taken, but I don't want my impatience to make me make a bad decision. But somebody else, if they feel that they want to act now, can remake my motion, but I would like to withdraw it at this time.
Thank you, Ed. And would you feel that having the public informational workshop specifically so the abutters can all come together and hear information and discuss this, would that be still something that would be helpful?
I don't think we should schedule that kind of meeting unless we hear that they would like it. So maybe we could send them a letter, those undecideds, asking them to make a decision, or if they would like, we can offer them a meeting like your suggestion. But we shouldn't schedule it until they have at least thought about it and asked for it.
Carol?
Can we send, I think that's a good idea, but I would suggest that we send that letter along with perhaps more or the same supporting information that they've already received with a due date, and send it certified mail so they can't say they didn't receive it.
Thank you, Carol. Judith?
Yeah, so I think I'm the only one on the committee that really wasn't comfortable with the amount of information provided as part of the alternatives analysis. And I think if you do get the consultants back to hold a workshop at some point in time, it might be helpful to have them really focus on that alternatives analysis and run through. So, I mean, I will say that I always thought that a great approach for Uncle Harvey's might be dredging. And I still think that dredging might be a real possibility that may or may not get past some of the abutter concerns. They do have new equipment that was never mentioned as part of the report that we received. The equipment that basically dewaters right there on the spot and takes the materials off. I know they took samples and core samples, and that's great. They didn't test any of those core samples for what materials were in the pond. I don't know if they tested those core samples for how much would have to be removed for dredging. Until you have those kinds of things answered, you can't stand up and talk about what the cost might be. So this just got a real fast, out of hand, oh, it's really expensive, dredging isn't possible. And that may be true, but if you go back and look at these alternatives very closely and get the specifics on just what it's going to cost, I'm sure they could get a company that dredges to give them an estimate if they had the information that they needed. But the information that was put together to give a good cost on this was all about alum treatments. It was not about some of the other alternatives that are available. And I think you might have a better shot of convincing some of the abutters if they felt like there was a really good alternatives analysis that was conducted and done.
That's a
Thank
question.
you.
Just
yes,
quickly, Scott, was there ever a no action alternative? Did you guys do any work to determine what you believe the pond will look like in 3 years or 5 years if you take no action? Again, forgive me because I didn't read the whole report, but I don't think there was a no action in there, was there?
So Rich, the report was not done by my office. The report
I'm
was
sorry.
done by,
Okay.
by another.
They're consultants, these guys here. Okay.
Yeah, but they did include no action. We also included no action in a lot of our discussion. No action is always a possibility. It's always, it should always be a discussion item.
Okay, so is it in the overall 106-page report?
It is
Management plan,
Okay,
yeah.
right. And so did any of you guys feel that was something? I guess it obviously didn't convince a couple people that no action was a problem. They thought they'd get enough out of just the other mitigations without the alum, I assume. I don't know.
Well, the pond was not meeting, water quality criteria for ecological health. So, no action is, I guess, always an option, but
Already
because of the specific cyanobacteria bloom, the fact that the Board of Health, it was, it was closed,
Okay.
several times.
I've never heard anyone say that no action is a good plan for Uncle Harvey's. I mean, of all the dissent discussion, I've never heard
Even the
anybody
abutters.
that we don't need to do anything and it's fine as.
Okay.
Right.
There may
Well,
be
the
people
abutters,
who feel that way. I personally haven't heard it.
yeah, it just sounds like alum is the issue then.
It's the issue.
I've only been on the committee for 2 years, but the only
Mhm.
abutter I've ever heard from is Betsy. So I don't know about, and recently
Oh.
Miss Orangel, but otherwise I don't know about anybody else.
Oh, okay.
So Ed has withdrawn the motion, and I do want to move on because we have a whole bunch of other things
Mhm.
on the agenda to cover. So my understanding is that we're not going to take further action right now, and we're going to wait to see who else we hear from. But I do think there should be a timeline placed on
Yeah,
that. I am going to
definitely.
let Betsy speak in a second, but I want to make sure before we move off the committee, this part of it. Do I understand where we are right now correctly?
I think that maybe we still need a motion, or we need to direct our consultants or one of us to compile some material so that we can send to abutters, basically stating we understand that this is not a 100% agreement for everybody, and we are trying to provide you with more information so that you can come up with a decision as a group that would be the most or I guess basically which plan would be the best for everyone to move forward. And with that, say for example, we send them a section of the land management plan, and if we all as a group decide like, yes, we think that we need a better alternatives analysis, then we should have that included and we should mail it to them or tell them that we're going to be doing a workshop. But we shouldn't just let this stand here. We need to come up with a group how we can move something forward,
Mhm.
but not moving forward the NOI as it is right now, in my opinion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that Laura prepare a letter with all the things she's just said to be sent out to the abutters, and that we review it at our next meeting, and if we all approve it, we send it out.
Second.
Discussion?
If I can talk with Scott on this as well, that
Well,
would be great.
I was about to add, can you please work with Scott Fisher regarding this? So I was going to make the same comment. I know Betsy now wants to chime in. So without any objection, Betsy, you have a comment? Or we actually need to vote on that, or do you want to comment before we vote, Betsy?
I'd appreciate it if you'd hear my comments before you voted.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
No, I think we need to vote before Betsy speaks.
Okay. Do I hear a
Roll-
motion? Well, you
roll
made the
call.
motion. but
Yeah,
We have a
make-
motion.
what-
and a
wanna
second.
remake it just so that Laura can document it and it's clear in everyone's mind.
the motion is to ask Laura to prepare a letter to send out to the abutters, offering them educational materials about Uncle Harvey's Pond and its potential treatments. And that at our next meeting, we'll review and approve that letter to be sent.
With assistance from Scott Fisher, and of course, the town will have to review it too.
Mhm.
Right.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? By roll, call?
Oh,
Ed, yes.
Judith, yes.
Carol, yes.
Rich, yes.
Judy, yes.
Betsy abstain.
Am I missing anybody?
Laura, is she a
Laura.
member of the? Yeah.
Laura?
She's on mute.
She's on mute
She's
again.
writing the letter.
Yeah.
Do I vote on this or do I abstain?
Yeah, no, you vote.
You
You
vote.
vote.
I'll say yes.
I think that's everyone.
Yeah, 601 I got.
Thank you. Okay, Betsy.
Yeah, this is truly disappointing. After 10 years and after having the University of Massachusetts School of Marine Science and Technology invest $50,000 in a full scientific study of this pond and reach conclusions that, contrary to Judith's comment, did look at all the options: dredging, aeration, and alum and other combinations, and they came up with the conclusion that alum was the only option that met the state's ecoregion targets. Furthermore, no action is not an option. This pond is on the state of Massachusetts list of impaired ponds, and as a result of the Clean Water Act, we are required to take action to correct this degradation of this pond. Judith wants to talk about the possible concerns about alum when it's in any water that you drink off Cape. What she doesn't seem to consider is that cyanobacteria has been proven not only within the pond, but in an airborne state to have adverse consequences of things like ALS to the residents. This is not simply a privately owned pond. We have 2 town landings. We invite the public to come onto this pond. There are children out there on paddle boards. There are people out there in kayaks. The town has a liability. They have a risk. And I'm so sorry that Cecil is not here to listen to this, but the town has a liability and a state mandate to clean this up and move forward. In 2018, this recommendation has bounced from pillar to post. I had signatures of over 100 people around the pond, those who bicycle here, those who walk here, who wanted us to move forward to discuss with the selectmen moving forward with the alum. 12 of 15 abutters will agree to the alum. The 3 who do not are all adjacent to each other. And contrary to what Scott just said, the 50-page package that went to each and every abutter included the statement that in areas where treatment is not requested by property owners, a floating siltation curtain will be installed roughly 10 feet at a minimum, so on and so forth. So every abutter has every piece of information, all the data that they need to make a decision. And according to Attorney Ford, that the fact that one owner of a portion of the pond does not sign the form would not prevent the Conservation Commission from hearing and issuing a decision on the notice of intent filed by the other landowners. It is clear. If we have 11 people ready to go, we may file with the Conservation Commission. And I'm sorry if in the past they've always required everyone to agree. Our town council says that is not a requirement to file a notice of intent, and we should move forward and let the regulatory process take its process and move forward. To insist that we can just let this sit again for another year, which is where we're headed, because we need to apply this in spring of 2021. We will be lucky if we move forward with a notice of intent next month. We will be lucky to get that application in the spring of 2021. And forgive me, Carolyn, you may correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole point of hiring Scott Fisher and his organization was to provide direct and specific information to the 3 abutters who were not in agreement, to have a personal contact. hand-to-hand discussion to do our very best to ensure that they understood the science behind this decision. So this is a failure on the part of this committee to recognize what the notice of intent process is, to recognize what our town council has told us we should do, and to get this to the Board of Selectmen because they are abutters. The Board of Selectmen needs to be in a butter signing this notice of intent. So that is my comments as an abutter to this pond, who at this moment can look out her window, see it turning green, knowing that the freshwater mussels are long gone. And God knows how many other parts of that ecosystem are now long gone, while we continue to bounce this around, trying to get this goal of 100% agreement. It's not required legally. We have a process. We should move forward. Thank you.
Did you guys ever set a limit, time limit for them to get this information into you?
Well, unfortunately, the letter that went out, even though we had a Gantt chart from Scott Fisher's organization saying the due date was July 7th, neither the notice of intent nor the letter to the abutters in the middle of summer told them that they had a due date, and they were unaware that there was a due date.
Okay, so that's a problem. So why can't you just get back to them until they have a month?
I'm sorry, point
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
order. We can't have a discussion now. We have to move on to the next item on the agenda. It was,
Okay,
normally Betsy would be speaking at the end of the meeting on the public speak.
okay,
So
thank you.
for legal purposes, to protect this commission from being sued by an abutter who wants to sue us to stop us, we need to be very careful on how we do this legally. And that's why I'm rather pushy on this matter. I'm trying to save it. So go ahead, Judy, move ahead.
Thank you very much, Ed, and Betsy, thank you for your comments. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Item number 4. It was discussed recently when there was a meeting about Meeting House Pond sewering with the consultant and I believe the Water and Sewer Board. It was suggested by several people that the town should incorporate an extension of public sewers to the Uncle Harvey's Pond groundwater basin. And I asked you to look at the executive summary of the Uncle Harvey's Pond Management Plan, where I believe it was page EX4, where it recommended, that would be something that would be beneficial to potentially connect certain parcels to extend a sewering up from the Meeting House Pond, which is the next phase, to potentially pick up some parcels in the Uncle Harvey's Pond water basin. And so we've been asked to provide our position on this. They would like to receive our comments and then pass whatever our recommendations are on whether we agree with this back to George, who would give it to Tom Parisi from AECom, our wastewater consultant, and that would be part of a presentation coming up, I believe, this month to the selectmen on the Meeting House Pond work plan, sewering work plan. Yes, Judith.
So this one, I hope, I'm pretty sure is an absolute no-brainer. I mean, we have discussed, we've discussed this in the past. And on any pond, if you want to fix it, you have to take care of the external sources and the internal sources. We can debate forever what to do about the internal sources, but the external sources, the only significant input to this pond is those 4 or 5 septic systems that remain, and putting them on a sewer line that's going to go within feet of that area anyway, to me, fiscally is a no-brainer. Science is a no-brainer. I think from the standpoint of public support of the people that are around the pond, this would be a no-brainer. I would move that enthusiastically, that we endorse this plan. Absolutely.
Okay. I left it as, extending to parcels within the Uncle Harvey's Pond water basin, just because I'm not a wastewater engineer, and I'm not sure how many parcels in the end they would determine is appropriate to potentially connect. So I'm just leaving it
I
kind of
think by
general.
way of pond protection, it's
Yeah.
something like 4 to 6.
Yeah.
But honestly, you're not going to connect the ones that are on the way. So if that pipe is going from here to there, and to grab the 4 to 6, you end up connecting 10, that's great.
Right.
It certainly
But
is
I'm just-
gonna, if it doesn't help the pond, then it's gonna help Pochi Inlet or some
Correct.
other area of town.
Yes, the sewering needs to make sense.
Absolutely.
I let them figure that out, but we support, I understand, does the committee support the recommendation that Uncle Harvey's Pond water basin be included in the idea of extending the sewering be included? Yes, Ed?
While we're at it, we have a Pilgrim Lake plan as well that could benefit from sewers. And if we're going to recommend one, we should recommend all that we have final management plans for. Now, in the past, we've talked about waiting on this because Crystal Lake is being studied, and the idea was to put both of them together. But I'm more in favor of, since we have a final plan for Pilgrim, and as you mentioned, for Uncle Harvey's, our job is to, when we have final plans, to pass on this information to the select board so that they have it and they have our recommendation. So I don't favor waiting for the Crystal Lake one. I would like to move ahead as we get them done.
With all due respect, Ed, I do agree with you, except that Pilgrim Lake is not part of the next phase, the Meeting House Pond phase. So we've only been asked to comment on the one that they're going to be addressing next. I do agree with, but it's
Well,
not.
I would agree with
what's
Ed.
the
Let's-
point of waiting?
Yeah, let's move it forward. Why not? I mean, at least they'll have it on record that says that we're in favor of it.
Yeah, I think we should stick with just what we were asked to comment on at this time.
Maybe we can have a second motion on that later.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I
Okay.
don't disagree with Ed, but I did move the
Correct.
Uncle Harvey's at least, but it has not been seconded.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Judy,
Roll
aye.
call.
I'm doing that. Judy, aye.
Sorry.
Judith, I.
Carol, I.
Rich,
Ed,
yes.
Aye.
Betsy abstain.
He's in favor.
Someone's in the chicken house. Come on. Laura, did I hear from Laura?
Yeah, you just did.
Yeah, she
Oh,
did.
okay.
Heard from the chickens.
Is that an aye?
Yes, you heard me as an aye.
Is that everybody? All right, I thank you, and I will provide the vote to George Meservey, who will handle getting that information back to where it belongs. Thank you very much.
So was,
601, did I get that right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Betsy abstained. Thank you. So now the next item on the agenda is the status update for the estuary sampling and a selection for a date to clean up all the equipment after our last sampling. And I did ask Carolyn Kennedy if she would, since she's coordinating the majority of these efforts, as well as Judith with the PALs, I think Carolyn would be best to do this if she can unmute, and yeah, she's unmuted.
Yes, I am. So.
Thank you.
Yesterday, Judith and I she put together, I laid out the stuff for the PALs, which will be this week. And so I think we're all set on that, but we can talk about that in a moment. But the other thing is when we get through September 8th and all the sampling equipment comes back to us from the estuaries, it takes some amount of effort to clean up all that stuff, get it unsalted, dried, and put away. So I don't know whether someday after the 8th that few people will be willing to work to do that. We can work both outside and inside to get it done. So several of us could work at it at the same time. So I don't know whether there's a day like the 9th or the 10th that would work for people to volunteer to spend an hour and a half and do that.
I'm good both days.
I believe
I'm
I'm,
sorry, what were those dates again, Carolyn? It was,
I'm looking at the 9th or 10th of September. It's the 2 days after we finish the sampling.
either
We
day.
could do it on the 9th.
9th, we've got 3 people.
Sure.
I would love to, but we are starting homeschooling instead of virtual learning. So we're doing a combo homeschool virtual, more of homeschool, and we're hoping to start the beginning of September. And I don't know how it's going to go, but we'll keep you updated. So that's why we can't help with that one.
Well, if there are 4 of us available on the 9th, that's plenty of folks to be in that space. So
That'll
what's a good time? 10 a.m.?
Works for me.
It's fine.
Okay, 10 a.m. on the 9th.
sounds good.
Okay, thank you very much. Bring a few
Thank you.
rags, bring a few rags and sponges with you. And we'll get
Okay.
it done. Unless it's pouring rain, and that would be difficult to get stuff to dry, so. Given good weather, let's go shoot for the 9th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item is moving right on to the freshwater pond sampling, the PALS sampling for 2020. And I don't know, Carolyn or Judith, one of you have a update on that with the dates? And I saw an email. I think you guys got it pretty well under control.
Yeah, I think we're all set, and I haven't heard any questions from samplers, but they can be in touch with me anytime before or by cell phone on the day of. And so we're going to try to get those samples to the lab, whenever you do your sampling, put them in your fridge or keep them on ice up until 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday and Thursday, and then get them to the lab between 2 and 2:30. And if anybody's, for whatever reason, running late, can't get there by 2:30, please text me prior to 2:30, because Carol's going to be, I'll be helping Carol check them in, but Carol will be standing by waiting to take the samples to Ed's house. And we don't want her sitting there forever, and we don't want Ed waiting to receive the water forever. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
I think we're good.
Good, great. Item number 7 is the Dredging Advisory Committee update. Just for Rich's edification, the committee was asked to provide a representative from the Water Quality Committee to sit on the Dredge Advisory Committee. So Betsy Fertney is that representative, and
Right.
I'm the alternate. So I'm going to ask Betsy to briefly summarize.
I will.
Thank you very much, Betsy.
If you look at the minutes that you just approved for July 27th, there were 8 items for the Dredge Advisory Committee. So the only progress that we've made thus far is the dredge purchase feasibility financial model was finally delivered to us on August 14th. And we will be discussing it tonight at our DAC meeting. So I can't give you any further information on that. But it should be noted that the 3 pieces of equipment, the Ellicott 370, 670, and the Poseidon P2 barge system, are all being analyzed at a point in time when we don't know the total cubic yards of material to be dredged. So we've looked at the equipment, but until we know from Woods Hole Group what the final volumes expected are for dredging, we obviously can't make a decision on whether or not to purchase a piece of equipment. And then the only other thing was the Nauset Estuary Stakeholder Group did meet, and they have provided to, I'm looking for it on my desk here to be sure I give you the right name. They have provided it to the Office of Energy Environmental Affairs, requesting a special review procedure. So we should be hearing more about that later this week. There's another meeting this week for the Nauset Estuary folks. So that's where we are, and they are continuing to meet either bi-monthly or once a month. So they're moving forward.
There was going to be a meeting, Betsy, on the 21st of September to discuss freshwater pond dredging. And
Yes.
the SMAS scientists were going to be participating in that meeting, and I understand it's been canceled.
I have expressed my disappointment to the chair of the DAC. I think it's inappropriate not to have historical facts laid out for those who are interested. But as far as I have read, that meeting is canceled on the 21st, and I have not seen a future date.
Okay. One thing that I would like to put out to the committee for consideration, you know, it's important that it be considered the potential impacts of any proposed dredging, what that might have, beneficial or not, on the town's efforts to improve our water quality. Since SMAS are the individuals that have the water quality model upon which, you know, the MEP, the TMDLs were calculated and everything else. And it was a big part of our wastewater management planning process. I think based on Dr. House's over 20 years of experience with Pleasant Bay, Nauset Estuary, and Rock Harbor, and Namskakett Creek, Little Namskakett Creek, I think it would be a good idea. This is my personal opinion, but I'd like to know how the committee feels. I think it would be appropriate to recommend to the select board that Dr. House be asked to do a general review and evaluation of the proposed dredging plan when the time comes. I think his input would be valuable. I think that it's important that he be able to do that. How does the committee feel about that?
I think his perspective would be extremely helpful. I have been concerned through the entire dredging process that it has been siloed. I feel more information sharing should be occurring with other committees and with the scientists. I think we should have all available data in order to make appropriate dredging committee decisions.
This is something that falls under our charge. It's something that, you know, we can recommend to the select board. Does the committee support that we make that recommendation to the select board?
I do.
Anyone else? Discussion or comments?
I guess the whole process sort of befuddles me a little, because all of the focus by the committee seems to be around picking the right machine and finding a machine that can be maximized in its use to be able to do many things. And rather than focusing on what effect, what positive impact it might have for some of our waterways, I feel like the whole emphasis is around navigation, which isn't a bad thing by any means, but then in order to be able to justify the expense for the navigation, then we start adding in other ways that we might be able to dredge to be able to make this cost effective. And I just think that that's backwards. So I'm not opposed to having Dr. House or others weigh in. but I don't think there's going to be any material for them to weigh in on. I mean, there really hasn't been any work done around what is going to be the positive impact to the estuaries or the waterways. It's not based on the science of improving the waterways. It's all about providing for navigation.
Right.
So if we want to have Dr. House then weigh in on what might other positive or negative impacts be, I don't think that's a bad thing, but I'm not sure that I'm not sure there's going to be anything for him to really weigh in on, if you will. I will say, lest anyone think that Betsy and I don't agree on things, I will say that there's no way, there's absolutely no way that a machine that might be purchased to dredge saltwater estuaries in either the Nauset system or the Pleasant Bay system would ever be the machine or the technical expertise and knowledge by the operator that would be needed for a freshwater pond.
And I
That
think
is
it's
that's just crazy. I mean, they need to just stop talking about that completely, because that's a complete non-starter, waste of time.
I think it's very important to separate the freshwater from the estuary activities, dredging activities. In the freshwater ponds, the documentation I sent to the chair of DAC was to show him a history of what our responsibilities have evolved to regarding freshwater ponds, how we have an annual process, how we've hired consultants to analyze each pond's individual needs and explain, that's the historical part. Ed Eichner could explain historically on freshwater ponds how dredging was considered and why it was eliminated. I think that's separate from the issue of estuary dredging, which feeds into the broader model that Judy's speaking of, which you do need a result to comment on. So I agree.
I don't disagree, but again, when we're talking about the equipment, because I think that's what's driven the committee to look at freshwater ponds. It's not looking to resolve and remediate legacy sediments. The motivation behind it has been to justify purchasing a machine that can be used in multiple locations to make the entire thing affordable. And fiscally, that's a great approach. But again, there's no way it's going to be the same machine.
I can assure you, Judith, that tonight, which is the first night we've had the opportunity to talk to Adam Finkel of the Woods Hole Group, who is going to be presenting the financial model, I will be reiterating that when he gets to the point where he compares the equipment to the volume of dredging material, that there is no freshwater dredging to be considered in that formula. So it's just not part of the picture. So I will make that very clear with Adam this evening.
Okay, thanks, Betsy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome. What I was referring to is when they have a final dredging plan and disposal plan. That's.
Yeah, so when we get to the point where what the Nauset Estuary Stakeholder Group agreed to last week, whenever, was that they weren't going to pick either a 50-foot channel or a 100-foot channel until the regulatory commissions weighed in. And if you recall, in January of 18, the reason we scaled back from 100-foot to 50-foot was because the regulatory agencies were guiding us in that direction. So the fact that we're now going back to reopen the 100-foot was very logically deferred until the regulatory agencies in the next month or so, I think September 1st is that meeting, can look at the revised plan and all the new data and make a fresh comment as to how they feel about dredging behind the barrier beach and what the width of that channel should be. So that's in a hold position till September 1st. Bear in mind that in the National Seashore, dredging is only allowed for safety and navigation. Right now, we have a situation where our harbor master literally has to go to Priscilla's Landing, and on a beautiful clear day, he has to run his GPS as he drives the boat from Priscilla's all the way out to the outlet to know the exact path, should he ever have to do that for a rescue in the fog. Otherwise, he would have no way to get from one end of the inlet to the other. That is obviously a safety hazard. But if it is going to cost us $500,000 every year to dredge behind the barrier beach, then that is a town of Eastman, town of Orleans decision as to whether the cost benefit is there to do that dredging, and perhaps come up with alternative safety and rescue procedures for those people on the outer banks there. Carol?
Carol?
See, refresh my memory. Is the charge of the committee to look for ways to improve navigation only?
And safety.
Or, so that's their only goal?
The National Seashore does not recognize any other reason for dredging. We are confined to safety and navigation when we are within the borders of the National Seashore, which everything behind the barrier beach is. Yes.
But yet we are looking to dredge other areas that don't fall into the purview.
Yes, so you have to understand that the dredge committee was charged with setting up a dredging plan for the town of Orleans. So that includes Rock Harbor, which has traditionally been done every decade. That includes historically dredged areas of Pleasant Bay, and it includes the Nauset Estuary. But obviously the Nauset Estuary has become something that the Board of Selectmen are very actively involved with. Mark is the liaison to the DAC for that, because of the scale and the significance of the impact, and the fact that Eastham, not only Eastham's Select Board, but Eastham's Conservation Commission would have to accept any notice of intent or request to dredge. So
Right.
It has to be a joint effort.
Does the committee have a clear set of goals and objectives for all of the areas under consideration?
You mean for Nauset, Rock Harbor, and
Exactly.
Pleasant Bay?
Yeah.
I believe they do, and there is a charge to.
And that's written somewhere.
Yes, there's a chart. I'd be happy to send the dredge advisory charge to you, but one thing I have recommended is that the charge for the Marine and Freshwater Quality Committee and the charge for the Dredge Advisory Committee be examined, simply because there appears to be overlap. And I think the Board of Selectmen really needs to clear up any potential overlap, especially when the DAC starts talking about water quality, which really should be the Marine and Freshwater Quality charge and not DAC.
Because it sounds to me like they're discussing the pros and cons of different pieces of equipment without actually knowing what they want to do with them.
That is
And
because
what they hope to gain from those pieces of equipment in the different areas.
and that's the very first thing I said. You can't decide whether or not to purchase a piece of equipment until you know the volume that you need to dredge. And you need to know not only the volume, you need to know the quality of that volume. So as we learned when we were on the field trip to Edgartown, no one disputes that for pure sand, this Ellicott 670 hydraulic dredge is a dream, and they can tell you the quantities and they can tell you how long it'll take to dewater it. But our estuaries, Rock Harbor Basin, sections of Pleasant Bay, and sections of Town Cove, include what's called fines, the muckier, the organic. These are materials that number one, are difficult sometimes to do hydraulically, but number two, they have to be treated and dewatered differently than pure sand, which could be stockpiled on the beach and then used right on the beach. And once you get into that whole area, whether you're putting it in these Quire bags or you're stacking it at the goose hammock, or, every step that you add to this process increases the expense. So those quantities have to be determined, and the quality of the materials has to be determined before you could apply it to a financial analysis of purchasing equipment.
I would agree.
So we will start that discussion. But again, you have to remember, we have the DAC, and then we also have the Nauset Estuary Stakeholder Group made up of both Eastham and Orleans representatives. So you have two bodies moving forward with the Woods Hole Group shepherding them.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Betsy. So my original question is, how does the committee feel about when it's appropriate and there's something to review, that Dr. House be asked to review it as it relates to water quality and any potential impacts, good or bad, on the town's efforts to improve water quality in our waters? Judith?
I think we need to wait until we see what the committee
Right.
comes up with before making
Yeah.
that recommendation.
I agree.
Okay.
Once there's a report, then I think we'll have a better idea.
Yeah, do you
Dr.
have a
House.
feeling when that's coming? I thought it was all had to be done quickly because wasn't this going to go to town meeting, or I'm not sure. Was that just the purchase of a dredge, or I wasn't clear to me?
No, nothing has, the only item that is on the town meeting, I'm using the wrong terms, but the issue of freshwater dredging was deferred from the May town meeting to October. So the only thing
Okay.
regarding dredging that will be showing up will be regarding a citizen's petition on freshwater dredging,
Okay.
which,
And that petition, to my knowledge, has no dollars associated. So
Correct.
even should the town approve it, it's basically an unfunded
Correct.
move that doesn't do anything.
now I'm sure the town will be putting forward, we have dredging in the capital plan. So there are monies allocated for dredging. There's monies allocated for the Woods Hole Group contract. I assume that we will be working out the financials with Eastham in terms of the cost sharing for many of these things, but that is to be determined. As far as I know, I think we just have the placeholder for dredging with the capital improvement plan, and Cecil can correct me if that's an inaccurate statement.
Thank you.
You're muted, Cecil.
No, you're right on, Betsy.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, Betsy. There's a lot of moving parts, so it's hard to keep track of it with the stakeholder group and the DAC and everything. Rich, are you looking like you have a question or not? I can't
No,
tell.
I'm just
by-
thinking. I was
Oh,
just
okay.
thinking about budget. So
Oh.
when you make these decisions, does this group doesn't have a budget that they just recommend to the select board, right?
Yeah, we're advisory. We used to have a
Right.
small, we don't right now.
Okay.
Well, the budget that we do have, George Meserve carries. So, for example, for the analysis for Crystal Lake,
Right.
that is carried under George's budget, in addition to all of Carolyn's equipment and
Right.
repairs and replacements and that sort of thing. So there is a budget, but it resides under George. It's not under our control.
And would we have to pay this expert? Would the town have to pay the expert to do
Which
this?
expert?
The doctor. what was
Dr.
his-
House.
Yeah.
House, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, you
Pay
would.
as you go.
Yes,
Okay. I
although
didn't know
under
if he
their-
was a volunteer or not. Okay.
No.
No, but Rich, under their existing contract, there are some funds for education outreach, and technical advice and things like that. So they would have been covered to be present at the 21st, September 21st meeting. It was already within their contract that they could provide some technical services in that respect.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I'll jump before I go to items for future agendas. Well, I'll do that one. I'm sorry. For items for future agendas, the one thing that I would like to put on the agenda in September is election of officers. I did not do that this particular month because I wanted to give our newest member a chance to virtually meet everyone first before asking him to vote on officers. So that's the item that I would like to put on the agenda for next month, but I'd like to hear from the rest of you on other things that you'd like to have on the agenda.
I'd like to put the Pilgrim Lake final report up for discussion, and a recommendation for making a recommendation to the select board with regard to it. And in that regard, I'd like to also discuss where the Crystal Lake one stands.
Okay.
And it
Was
would-
that a motion? If it was, I'll second it.
It's an
just a
agenda.
list.
This is an
Agenda.
agenda. This is for next month's agenda.
And I would very
didn't
much
know.
like to hear about Cedar Pond and where SMAST is and the work that they've been doing there.
Okay.
This isn't on the agenda, but it's related to Cedar Pond. So let's put in that agenda also the unidentified parcels at Cedar Pond that we have been in the process of taking as a town. By next month, we may have a little bit more definitive information because I know you mentioned that maybe a decade ago you had proposed a trail system in this area. So if in fact the town actually owned those parcels outright in the near future, you might want to revisit your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it was just a little daydream I had about an elevated Cedar Swamp Trail like they have at Fort Hill.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Just, excuse me, but jumping back to Pilgrim Lake, and forgive me, because I know this has come up 1,000 times. Have we gotten the final version of that?
yes,
Yeah.
it's on the,
Yes.
Yeah,
it's on the website.
and it is on the website. And that one incorporates all of the comments that we made previously.
As far as I know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there a date on that one? Are there multiple copies up there, or just they removed the old one and are they draft and then put up the?
Can you read that? There we go.
Yeah, okay,
It's
thanks.
dated
October.
October 2019.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other items on the, for the next agenda? I'm sure we'll put some of these others for updates and everything.
Well, I hope we have a status for Uncle Harvey's Pond.
Yeah.
I hope we're able to keep this moving.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, I'd like to entertain any comments from the public who are out there somewhere.
Hello,
see-
Walter,
I
are you listening?
I am listening, and Betsy, I want to thank you for standing up for moving forward on Uncle Harvey's Pond. I know it's a struggle, but I don't think the anti-science approach of one abutter should prevent the town from having access to a safe pond for public use.
Thank you, Walter, very much. I'll pick up any trash that you throw on the driveway when you jog by.
Well, I do that regularly, and I appreciate your picking it up.
No problem. I always know Walter's been by when my cans appear at the end of the driveway.
Anyone else out there? Okay, then.
Judy, just quickly, one idea mentioned by the idea of putting in a path into the pond. Don't forget the CPC is a potential source of funding.
Oh, good point. Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
What's the CPC?
Community Preservation Act funds,
Oh,
I
okay.
believe.
And it would be appropriate, and this is something John Janella will do automatically, when those two parcels are actually owned by the town, he will actually do a perimeter walk so that you would know where the property lines were.
Okay, thank you very much, Walter. I thank everyone else. This has been a long meeting. I apologize. I've never done a Zoomer before and we had a lot to cover and talk about. So.
Good start, Judy.
Pardon me?
Good start. You did a good start. I should raise my
Well,
hand.
Yeah,
thank
nice
you.
job. Good
Thank you,
job.
Judy.
Good job, Judy. Thank you, Carolyn, and welcome, Rich.
Yep,
Thanks, everyone.
thank you very much. I'll entertain
Pleasure
a
meeting
motion
all
to
of
it.
you.
Thank
Motion
you.
to adjourn.
I would like a motion to adjourn, please. And we have
Motion
to do a
adjourn.
roll call.
Judith,
Second,
Did someone move that?
yeah, Laura did.
Okay,
Laura
Laura.
did.
did.
Betsy, I thought Betsy did.
I propose
think-
the motion.
Betsy moved it, Laura seconded it.
Okay.
Judy, I.
Judith, I.
Aye.
Ed, I.
Laura, I.
Betsy, I.
Okay, I thank everyone for participating and those who are watching. Thank you. Have
Was
a
that-
nice day.
Was that
Thanks to
7-0?
everybody. Thanks, Scott, for being on.
I was 7-0.